All right. So thanks for joining us, guys. We're really excited about this topic we're talking about called Bring Creativity to STEAM with Drawing and Coding. It's a big passion of both me and Dylan. Also, later, if you want to look at our video again, if you want to look at other resources about coding and robotics, you can always visit the website, edweb.net/code. All the resources there are free. You can also take quizzes for certificates if you're just watching this as a recording, since that's required to get the certificate. So definitely check out that website. We're trying to build that community out there for EdWeb. Last but not least, I know you guys are interested in the CE certificate. New York now, you can also use this to help with your professional development. So just as a heads up, if you did pre-register for this webinar, you actually will be mailed your certificate via email 24 hours afterwards. And also, if you are not viewing this live, you'll need to basically take a quiz in order to get the certificate. If you have any more questions, just go to edweb.net/code as well. All right, so that's all the stuff. So we're going to talk about drawing and coding, bring creativity to STEAM. But first, we wanted to talk a little bit about us. So I'm Charlotte Chang. I'm the curriculum content manager at Wonder Workshop, and that means I work on the curriculum that comes with our robots. So for example, a teacher said they just introduced the challenge cards to their parents, and that's what I worked on last year. And right now I'm also working on curriculum for a new robot, Q. How about you, Dylan?
Hey everybody, I'm Dylan Portelance. I'm a product manager at Wonder Workshop, and I work primarily with the engineering and design and education teams to understand our customers' needs and work on new products in the education space. So thinking about all the different ways that we can introduce coding and robotics to K-8 classrooms. Happy to be here today.
Yeah. So now we want to learn a little bit more about you. So some of you guys have been sharing, where are you from? But the other question we're really interested in is, what is your role in education? Because, you know, you're probably here because you are part of the education space. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, what's your role? You know, are you a teacher? Do you work at the district level? Do you work at an after-school program? Who knows? So it looks like Susan's a teacher. Amy teaches art. Do you notice anything else there, Dylan?
Youth services librarian. I'm seeing 5th grade STEAM teacher, tech coaches, a whole bunch of different things here. Kindergarten teachers, K-4 STEM specialists. So a lot of different roles. Anybody paraprofessional? We got a paraprofessional right in there.
Nice.
Literary resources, digital learning consultant.
Ooh, that's intriguing. Great. That looks like we've got a wide span of different experts in the education field. That's great. So the next question we had for you is,
what are you hoping to take away from this webinar? What do you want to learn today from us?
Oh, we're still getting some roles.
Still getting some different roles.
Which we appreciate. That's awesome. But think about it. What are you hoping to take away?
Creative ideas. Joanna's looking for inspiration. Okay. Ideas for a makerspace. Okay, so thinking about what you might want to put in your makerspace or what kind of activities you might want to do there.
Okay, I'm going to keep that in mind.
Yeah, coding.
Okay, we'll cover that. We'll cover that. Yeah.
Definitely going to cover that. Linking science and art. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Yep. STEAM in relation to coding.
Gloria's really optimistic. All there is to know.
All there is to know, yeah.
Everything.
That's going to be tricky, but we'll do our best.
Everything in an hour.
Okay, creativity tools.
Robotics.
Robotics,
okay.
Yeah, definitely going to cover that. Yep.
Yeah, cool. Good to know. We're going to keep these in mind as we move forward on our presentation. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was the benefits of drawing and coding. So it looks like a lot of you guys have drawn before with your students, and some of you guys have coded before with your students. So we wanted to talk about how those two can work together. So to talk to you guys, what do you think are some benefits of using drawing and or coding in your classroom? What do students get out of that experience of drawing and or coding? What do you think?
So motivation, problem solving. Christina says develop digital education. Oh, that's an answer to the last question. Hands-on learning, definitely.
Spatial awareness, yeah.
Spatial awareness, okay. Yeah. Fun, that's a good one. I like that one a lot.
Plain fun, just plain fun.
Real life examples.
Creative outlet.
Problem solving and critical thinking. So getting into some of those C's. Cooperation, failing, adjusting, and trying again. I like that.
That's really great.
Process there.
The whole growth mindset.
Student engagement, teamwork.
That's awesome.
These are good answers. Collaboration.
So yeah, so you guys have touched upon a lot of these topics already, but when we talk about it, drawing has strengths, right? And coding also has strengths. Now, I made some examples. These are very broad, obviously. There's exceptions to every rule. But when we think of drawing, some of the strengths of letting a kid draw is they find happy mistakes. It's organic. They can create things organically very easily. It's emotional. They can express their emotions. They tell stories. It's subjective. It's also visual and tactile. The strengths of coding, on the other hand, it's automated. That means it's going to help you get more efficient and exact. It's objective, helps you keep organized, and it's also scalable, right? So these are strengths of the two, but when you combine the two, you create a happy medium, a mix of those two strengths. And from that, you create something that's collaborative. Mm-hmm. Someone said interactive learning, that's right. Mm-hmm. I really believe in this one. They become tools of expression for your students, which I think is the bread and butter of helping a kid get motivated to learn.
Yeah,
and then,
we saw in the attendee chat, a lot of people were saying motivation and also having an outlet for some kids who might not think that they're interested in coding, but using drawing as a lens that they can then start being creative with coding and seeing how it might apply to their interests. So
totally. And then the last one, you guys nailed it on the head, critical and computational thinking skills. Mm-hmm. Very important, and they're both used in both drawing and coding, both of those exercises. The other piece we wanted to talk about was computational artifacts.
So computational artifacts is an interesting term, but basically anything that you can create using a computer. So think when we're talking about drawing and coding, maybe it's the actual piece of art that you create, whether that's a physical piece of art that you create with a robot, which you'll see soon, or maybe a drawing on a virtual canvas on the computer. It can also be things like text files, so stories, videos, anything else that you can create with a computer. But one of the interesting things to note is that this idea of computational artifacts, or really having a why for coding and being able to create something, this term is coming up about 40 times in the CSTA framework, or excuse me, the K through 12 computer science framework. So it's the process of developing computational artifacts that embraces both creative expression and the exploration of ideas to create prototypes and solve computational problems. So we're going to be showing a bunch of different computational artifacts that can be created with one of our new products, as well as exploring some kind of the history of using code to create computational artifacts in the classroom.
All right.
So there's a lot of different folks in the past who have done great work combining drawing with coding and really finding that why for coding. And we're only going to talk about a few of them, but what I want to really preface this with is because coding can often be so abstract, it can be good to have metaphors to really make it more concrete. And a lot of times this has been done through different interfaces for drawing with code. So first of all, how many of you have used Logo before? A lot of us might have coded for the first time with Logo, or drawn on a computer for the first time with Logo.
Yes.
Maureen says yes. She got in there right away. Seeing a bunch of yeses. So Logo was created in the 60s, and this was basically a way for kids to be introduced to coding by actually not only drawing, but controlling something on the screen to move around. The term that we use is body syntonic, meaning that they actually are able to think about a turtle on the screen moving around in the same image of themselves. So you can imagine as you're solving a problem, trying to figure out how to draw something with this turtle that's leaving a trail, you could also get up yourself and walk around the room and kind of understand what directions you need to give yourself to be able to draw a shape, and then translate that to using the turtle to draw. So one of the great things about Logo was that it not only introduced this way to create something on the screen, which for a lot of kids is like magic, but also to be able to apply some very basic computational thinking skills to it. So imagine, after this square on the screen here, you could then translate it. You could loop it, meaning you could draw it multiple times in different locations. You could scale it. There's a lot of different things that you could use computationally to actually change the artifact that you're leaving on the screen. Jumping ahead a little bit, has anybody used processing before? Is anybody familiar with the processing language? A little, okay. P5.js, so the recent JavaScript version of processing. That's awesome.
Done that, yeah.
Okay, so folks might be a little bit less familiar with processing, and it's designed more, or it's used more, I would say, in higher education. For example, Rhode Island School of Design actually uses this with many of their design and art students. But processing was created to kind of have a way to create computational sketches, is what they call it. So imagine writing code and having the ability to say, okay, I have a canvas on the screen. I have the way to kind of dip my paintbrush into a fill color or a stroke color, and then being able to say things like draw an ellipse, draw a square, or stamp a actual image, and being able to then learn code through the lens of actually creating art. So what you see on the screen is just a little bit of processing code that was used to create this gradient, or this rainbow gradient on the left side. And this is still a language that is used today and actually has influenced a lot of different ways that you can draw on the web, which we'll talk about in a second. Who's familiar with Scratch? Anybody familiar with Scratch out there, or even using it in your classroom? I'm seeing some capitalizations and exclamation marks. So people seem to be really excited about Scratch.
Nice.
So for a lot of you, or for those of you who are less familiar, so Scratch was kind of what caused this sensation in block-based programming. In other words, being able to snap together different instructions on the screen visually to be able to control a character on the screen. So on the left side, you actually will see the Scratch cat, and on the right side is blocks of code that are actually causing that cat to create a speech bubble next to it. So this kind of takes some of the things that were done in Logo and in processing and other technologies and really thinks of it as characters, creating a scene, creating animated stories and games. And there's millions of different projects that have been created in Scratch, and it's still going today at mit.scratch.edu.
I see someone actually going to the conference. Linda's going.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so making it over to Cambridge to talk to the Scratch folks.
Nice.
I'll briefly mention, so one of the things that's really cool about HTML5, or in other words, the programming language that you can use to write code for the web, or to put code on the web. First of all, anybody using HTML out there, teaching HTML in their classroom? Notepad++, okay, yeah. Linda Martin from New Jersey, cool. So
look, there's an emoji. Nice.
One of the cool things about HTML5 is that it actually has a command called Canvas and a bunch of different ways that you can then draw straight onto a web page. So if you're familiar enough with JavaScript or HTML, the sky's the limit for the types of things that you can draw. And then finally, more recently, as code.org has become more of an institution in CS education, there's several hour of code activities that are actually using drawing as a way in, as a welcoming way to kind of get started with programming. We've shown one right here where you're using several different sized ellipses to create, I don't know if it's necessarily a smiley face, maybe more of a puzzled face or a meh face, but you get the idea. There's all kinds of different things that you can draw. And code.org has many examples there, as well as sandboxes to continue and create your own kind of computational artifacts.
Cool. Now, jumping off of that, that was a really great, very brief. I mean, like, we could go on and on. That could be another webinar about the history of art and computing. We want to talk also about the careers in art and computing. Now, I notice more and more you've seen the trend where we talk about STEM being an important topic to teach kids because it leads to successful jobs, right? High-paying jobs. But what if you merged it and it was STEAM? You know, careers that pair both art and computing, you're going to appeal to a wider audience of students because kids who are interested in art can say, hey, if I pair that with computing, I can also find really great, very fulfilling, successful occupations when I grow up as well. So we're just going to walk through a couple, right? So just off the top of your head, when you think about it, what are some careers that involve the use of both art and computing skills that you can think about? I've shown some images here, but I'd love to see what you guys come up with.
So we're seeing graphic design or design in general, architecture. That's a great one, definitely. Animation.
3D chef.
3D chef. Ooh, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, those are great ideas.
Interior design, absolutely. Fashion design. So a lot of different fields of design.
Yeah.
Definitely. Any paper art or sewing as well, absolutely.
Yep.
Any kind of occupation like that.
Wearable designer.
Wearable designer.
Video game creator. That's great. So I'm just going to walk through some examples with you guys. So a lot of you did say web design, and I agree. It's combining visual design with front-end engineering, just like Dylan was saying, using HTML or JavaScript. But pairing with the coding, you also need to understand the visual look of the design of the website, and you have to pair some art skills as well. What is appealing to users? What can visually convey and communicate your ideas in the best way? So when a kid grows up to be a web designer, yes, they are both using art and computing skills for that career. Another example is visual effects. Like, if you saw, let's see, Black Panther, and also, what else did we, another recent one.
Most recently, Shape of Water.
Shape of Water was a great one. Actually, most of the Academy Award-winning films needed the use of visual effects. And visual effects is actually a pairing of understanding physics, biology, and coding to create organic visual effects to tell a story. So here you actually see what a visual effects artist actually would work with. On the screen, you see on the left, you see the simulation of what they're creating, but on the right, they're developing code and also state machine-based programming, basically a decision tree to help decide how a piece of matter, for example, a bubble or a drop of water, will move depending on the situation. This is using the Houdini animation tool. And you can see other examples here of, like, you're creating a flame, right? So, for example, if you're making a movie with a dragon, you have to create flame and simulate that. In order to simulate that, you have to, understand what does fire look like, why am I creating this, how am I going to use this to tell a story, and then based off of that, then program and design something for it as well. So visual effects are a really important occupation. This one, animation, near and dear to my heart. A great example is Pixar, right? So in Pixar, you have those just straight artists who are drawing characters, but most of the Pixar team masters both. They need art and computing in order to create and simulate water, the environment, etc. Now, Fran Kalal, actually, she's a cloth and simulation technical director at Pixar. What that means is she actually creates the clothes for all of the characters that she designs for. So I'm going to play a video here, and while you're watching this video, I want you guys to think and put your ideas in the chat window of how you could potentially use this video to help your kids get excited about pairing art with computation. All right, so I'm going to play this short little video in the chat section. Share your ideas. Here we go.
I'm Fran Kalal. I'm a technical director at Pixar Animation Studios. My job is to dress our digital characters, and that means that I get to take what I know about fashion and art and make outfits, and what I know about math and science and make them move. I know, right? The first character I got to dress at Pixar was Ellie from Up, and that went well, so they asked me to work on Merida's dresses next. And after that, I got to work on Disgust and Riley's mom, which were really fun because they changed outfits all the time. I told my dad I wanted to go to film school. He showed me this clip that he found on the budding internet of this alien dancing under a disco ball. And it was magic. And he said, you can study this. That's when I knew I had to get involved in computer animation. And that guy totally works here. I got to meet him. Digital animation is a team sport. You're writing code together, you're fixing code together, you're breaking things together, and you're pushing the boundaries together. I identify as an artist, and I like to think that my favorite paintbrush is the computer, is code. One of my proudest moments of working at Pixar was the Halloween after Brave came out. I saw little girls running around in Merida costumes, and that meant that they were wearing an outfit that I had made on the computer. But that also meant that they chose to dress up and to revere this strong, athletic, intelligent princess. And that made me so proud that I had worked on giving them a new type of role model. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Great, and I saw some great comments here. Someone actually remembered seeing that video, the I Will Survive Disco Ball, and I really like the comment here. Where was it? Helen Reynolds, it says she has girls interested in fashion design who would never have thought about this. And I was sort of like that too. I was like, I'm an artist. Why would I need to know anything about computers and programming when I was young? And seeing a video like this sparks the realization that Learning computation, learning coding actually allows me to express my creativity in a completely different way. So I really recommend it. I included the link here if you want to access it to show to your students as well.
Yeah, and that definitely touches on a common theme that we see, that the sky's the limit in terms of the number of things that you can connect computation to. And what we're trying to do today is just give as many examples as possible. So
for sure. Another great example is if you've done code.org, Maral Kotib, she basically created Illuminate, and she was interviewed as part of the code.org videos. And what's really cool with her is she combined lights, dance, and coding to create a performance art that, and her team is hired across the country to perform it at different events. And basically these lights are coded to change colors and change patterns as the dancers move. So imagine the different kinds of combinations she can make with those three elements combined. So that's a great example. And then here's another one. Who watched the Winter Olympics the last month or so? I did. I watched a couple. Yeah, there's some curling involved, there was some figure skating, etc., right? So absolutely, yes. So something that you might, if you had seen the opening ceremony, there was some drone performance art that was very exciting to see, right? And this actually, they're using robotics, coding, and animation to create large-scale shows, you know, amazing images. So I wanted to share this video with you, and let's ask the same question. If you showed this video to your students, how would you use this as a great launch-off point to talk about the combination of art and computation? Let's go. And I think we're good on time. Yes.
The Olympics is a huge global stage for our team, and it's the most watched event in the world. Every time we do a show, there's always a surprise. When we thought about the opportunity at the opening ceremony, there's no doubt we had to push ourselves.
How do we prep for the Olympics before we're even on site? There are so many tests that the teams did in Germany and in Finland. Before we came to Korea, we had a plan. We had an agenda. We knew wins were going to be tough.
Basically a last-minute checklist of what we're going to go through to make sure we're ready to fly and make sure that the weather is okay. The landscape here is cold, snowy, icy, with very, very high winds.
There have been a lot of challenges.
What do you mean the animation's over there?
We can't fly in that area.
We have out the field without network right now.
Is it launching?
No.
You can never predict weather. Let's take a step back and see how we can solve together.
We always find a way. We've mostly done shows about 300, so to jump to 1,200,
It's been a huge team effort. World records are meant to be broken.
We are a minute and a half to launch, about 3.5 minutes until animation.
every late night, all the sacrifices.
Our fingers are crossed. My heart's pounding.
30 seconds to launch.
Everyone is a little bit quieter.
5,
4, 3, 2, 1, launching. Three, two, one, trigger.
It's hard to describe watching a drone light show live.
When you see 1,200 drones traveling up the snowy mountain,
It's so memorable. There's nothing like it in the world.
That was incredible! Congratulations! We did it!
Awesome, guys.
All right. But I got chills watching that video. I actually get chills every single time. Linda says, what does Linda say? It's a great way to show students the importance of collaborating and how to overcome challenge or obstacles, grit, anything is possible. I agree. You know, you saw in that video how they had to overcome like obstacles they didn't even foresee. You know, weather. How can you anticipate weather? And you see how many people work together basically to get this done. And I don't know if you saw in the beginning, there was even storyboard artists who had to first plan it out in visual way to animate what they wanted the drones to, what the drones should look like before they could even go in the code, you know? So yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. And, you know, harkening back to some of the things that you all said in the chat in terms of skills that you're trying to teach in your classroom, whether it's collaboration or communication, just thinking about, you know, all the different teams that were involved in doing this, both, you know, designers, engineers, people who are in between, people who are running the event and doing the logistics. And then even the fact that they were saying there were teams in Finland and Germany and Korea that all had to collaborate with each other. It really takes, you know, so much collaboration and communication skills in order to pull that off. So
totally. And so some facts about this, because I found this fascinating, was that there was over 1,200 drones, and each drone was independently operated via custom software that they had to design. And then the software would adjust the performance of each drone based on that drone's battery level and GPS strength. So if you just saw, oh, it's a beautiful bird, you know, yes, it's a beautiful bird, it's a simple design, but look at how much software and coding went into it. Megan's like, what? Exactly. When I read about that, I was just going, what? You know, and Anil Nanduri, who's a general manager of Intel's drone group, said, it's in essence technology meeting art, right? It's that combination that helped them make that magical moment that they couldn't do alone with one or the other. Another great example, I love OK Go. I've seen them live. They're amazing. And I don't know if you guys know this, but they just teamed up with an education team to come up with a link, a website called okgosandbox.org. And there you can actually find lesson plans where they combine math, art, science, and music together to highlight how they created their music videos. I don't know if you've seen any of the music videos. We don't have time to show them to you, but every music video that they've created clearly combines math, art, science, and computation. They always try to challenge themselves to express their music in a visual way, in an interesting way, and in a complex way as well. So they're a really great example of how you can combine both art and computation. Now, you know we're from Wonder Workshop, right? Yes. So we wanted to show an example of what we're doing to move forward that combination of art and computation. But the first question is,
what do you know about Wonder Workshop and our family of robots?
If you don't
looking
know,
for some answers in the chat. Are you familiar with Wonder Workshop? Is this your first time hearing about us?
Not much or nothing.
Have you used any of our robots like Dash and Dot and Q?
Oh, first time
whether it's in
hearing
your
that.
classroom or at home. Okay, so some folks who have used Dash and Dot, a little bit of Q. I see Q is awesome. Glad to hear it. My buddies. That's amazing.
Well, it looks like we got a mix, right, Dylan? You want to give a brief intro of what our robots do?
Yeah, so Wonder Workshop came out with our Dash and Dot robots, which are used in elementary school education. That's on the screen. You'll see the blue one and the green one. They're programmable, and we have developmentally. Whoop, Dot fell down in the back, but that's okay.
That's all right.
They have developmentally appropriate languages for young children to be able to code and explore robotics with. And we also create curriculum that you can use in your classroom to teach coding and robotics using our robots. And then more recently, we came out with Q, which is our middle school robot. That's the darker one here. And with Q, you can actually take programming to the next level and do more advanced things with sensors and driving, different motions and lights and sounds as well. So what we're excited to show you today is kind of what we're unveiling to actually be able to use our robots in a way to draw.
Yeah. So this is actually a sneak peek because this product isn't coming out until next month. So you guys get a little sneak peek of what we've created. So what we started off with was our robots were very popular in schools. And my first thing when I joined this company was I visited a lot of classrooms, and so did you, Dylan, right? And what we noticed were kids wanted to draw with our robot. We didn't have an accessory out there yet, but they made their own accessories. And you can see they've used it out of Legos, rubber bands. I've even seen people just using plain masking tape or duct tape, attaching it to the back of Dash, and then using it to draw, much like the logo program with the turtle that Dylan showed in the beginning. Now, what we realized is great, it's a great lesson about making a pen tool, about DIY, but what happened was that it led to interesting results, right? Because the kids couldn't exactly put that pen at the center of rotation. So if they wanted to make a simple square, they would find these big circles at every single corner, right? They couldn't really draw very precise images because the pen wasn't placed correctly. The other thing was that because they were made out of Legos and rubber band and tape, they were very easy to fall apart. So the poor kids would spend all this time making this pen accessory, get really excited about drawing it, put it aside, and the next day something got jostled and the entire accessory fell apart. And therefore they couldn't really focus on the art part as much. They were so busy focusing on the building that they couldn't get to the art and the coding that they wanted to as well. So when we said, okay, you know what? These kids need a pen accessory. We decided we had a couple goals. So one of them was a more precise way of drawing with Dash and Q, both of the robots. An easy way to attach and use, allows for trial and error drawing, because basically we notice if you try to draw a square for the first time, right, the kids will always mess up or usually mess up. So they basically would want to try again. Now every single time they want to try again, the teacher would have to pull out another sheet of butcher paper. Just imagine how much butcher paper they burned through. The other thing was it needed to accommodate the restrictions in space of classrooms, because we know how precious that space is. So we wanted to make sure it was something that wasn't too big or too out of the way or too hard to set up. And then last but not least, we wanted to make sure that it helped kids easily express themselves with drawing and coding, which basically when they were building those accessories was sort of getting in the way. Can you think of any other goals, Dylan, that we thought of?
Yeah, so I think, one thing that we've been doing since we came out with Dash and Dot is really thinking about what it means to have a robot that's ready to go. And there's a lot of things that you can learn from building a robot, for example, but when you have a robot that's ready to go, you can immediately start really thinking about the coding challenges and the different things that you want to do physically with the robot. Similarly, with a project like this, there's definitely all kinds of learning that you can have in a classroom when you're building a pen accessory, and you've even sounded off in the comments about the design challenges and the different things that you learn. But if you want to immediately begin, thinking about some of those problems around drawing and coding, having a pen accessory out the gate is really helpful. So that's kind of the mentality that we're using going into this product.
And Linda was saying, I can see the kids trying to program the robot to do their name using these.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
That'd be interesting. That's a great idea. So what we're launching next month is a sketch kit. And it includes a caddy that you actually attach to the robot. And you also attach it to the robot's ear. And basically the robot tilts its head down or up to lift the pen so that the kids can actually create more complex designs. It also comes with 6 dry erase markers. So they're not permanent markers. In case the kids, draw off of the paper, you can wipe it off easily. And also if you draw it on whiteboard material, they can erase it and try again. Once again, the trial and error bit. And then also it comes with 10 drawing challenges that are sequenced and ready to go. The other thing is that it's compatible. It's the first accessory that we're creating that's compatible with both Dash and Q. So if you have both of those robots, if you have a mix of kids who need to start out simple with Dash, or you have kids who are more advanced and are ready to go to draw really complex shapes, you can use the accessory for both types of robots. Do you want to talk about the sketch cards?
Yeah, so in the sketch kit, we actually have these different scaffolded and sequenced challenges. And what's cool about this is a lot of times challenges you need to be able to read to understand what it is that you want to program. In this case, you can actually just look right at the card and immediately understand what the solution should look like on your whiteboard mat. So some of the examples are dashed lines, because there's actually a way to pick up the pen and put it back down so you can drive your robot while it's drawing or while it's not drawing, to be able to create different shapes that are disconnected. Over on the left side of this slide, you obviously see a smiley face, so being able to express different emotions with the with the sketch kit. I can imagine a challenge where you might say, okay, now how do you draw a sad face or an ambivalent face?
Or a meth face.
Or a meth face, as we saw earlier in the code.org example.
That's right.
And using basically different concepts in geometry to explore drawing. So thinking about what do you need to program to draw a triangle versus a square versus a hexagon, or even a star. So thinking about exterior versus interior angles. The sky's the limit in terms of the number of different things that you can learn with Sketchkit because of the mathematical concepts that you're exploring, the computational concepts that you're exploring, but also the visual ones.
Yep. So we're going to give you a challenge. Do you want to set them up for this one?
Yeah. So this is one of our challenges. It's actually challenge number 2 in the box, and it's basically to write a program that allows your robot, whether it's Dash or Q, to draw a square. So we're looking for you to maybe think about this based on what you see here and what kind of program you would write to draw a square.
And what kind of commands? Oh, we've got some. A move forward 50 centimeters. Okay. That's the first step.
Okay.
What would you do next?
Turn right.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. So if you look closely, you can actually see that the arrow is pointed to the right, meaning that the robot's going to move forward first. Turn right. Yeah, so 90 degrees. So having to be very specific about how much that robot's going to need to turn based on the angle of the square.
Oh, someone said loop.
So someone said loop, and someone else even specified repeat 4 times. So indeed, you could move forward some number of centimeters. I believe it is. Is it 50 in this case?
This one is.
Or it might be
50.
60.
I believe it's 50.
Okay,
Yes.
and then turn right. So you could do that repeatedly, or you could actually put a loop around it and do it 4 times. So we'll show you the solution in.
Oh, it's 60.
We'll show you the solution in one of our programming languages that works with Sketchkit called Blockly. So these are the blocks that you would use, and that pink block is a block that just says marker down, meaning if you were to repeat 4 times moving forward and turning right, the robot would move in that way. But what the marker down block allows you to do is say, I'm going to actually put the marker on the canvas so that when I now move, I'll be leaving that trace with the dry erase marker.
Yeah, and then, you want to highlight the loop over there? So you mentioned the loop here.
So as you sounded off, there's a couple different ways that you can do this, or several different ways. But one thing that you can do is actually, instead of saying move forward, turn right, move forward, turn right, you can actually put a loop or a repeat 4 times block around move forward and turn right. So that means that the robot will move forward and turn right 4 times total in that order.
So you can see in this one sketch card, you're teaching the benefits of loops, not just how to do a loop, but why you would want to do a loop, because it allows you to create more efficient code. And like you said, you had to turn 90 degrees specifically, so then you're folding in math, right? And then you're teaching them how to draw a square, so you're folding in art. So with one activity here, you're combining math, art, and also coding as well. So now, what do I draw on with Sketchkit? Well, guess what? We thought about that for you too. So we created a Wonder whiteboard map. Okay, it's 100 by 200 centimeters. It's white erase. It's also magnetic, and you can roll it. And we usually recommend 2 to 3 robots per mat. Now, why is it magnetic, you ask? Well, A, it helps give some weight to the mat so it lies nice and flat. And then number 2 is now you can decorate the mat. So if you go to your local Target or Walmart, you can buy themed sets of magnets and theme your mat to whatever you're trying to teach in class, right? So if you are teaching about, let's say, underwater ecosystems, you could get magnets with octopuses and jellyfish and things and put that on the mat, decorate it, and then have Dash navigate and draw through the scene. So basically will help you tell great stories with Dash or Q while kids are drawing with it.
You'll also notice that we have a nice soft grid so that you can line up your robot in the spot that you want to, as well as some measurements on the bottom so that you can see those increments really clearly. So being able to not only get creative with all the things that you're drawing, but do it in a precise way so that you can really make sure that you can create replicable code and replicable computational artifacts.
Yeah. Ooh, use that word. Nice. Alpha Omega Crew said the kids love this. It's like code.org Exactly. So if you've used code.org, there's one of the activities called artist, and you also do pen up, pen down, and you're also drawing great shapes. We are actually a partner with code.org, and one of the curriculum designers is actually an advisor for a company. And we saw this beautiful way of transitioning what the kids are doing on the screen to turning it into something physical. So then they can make that transition. They can make that connection. Oh, I did this in code.org. Now I'm doing it with the robot. So now we have a new challenge for you guys. I'm intrigued to see who's going to come up with the correct answer first. All right? So pay close attention. This is an example of dash. Now you'll see this dash is clear. That's a limited edition dash that we use at our conferences. But look at dash and see how dash is moving and try and guess what dash is drawing. All right? Let's see. I'm going to play that video here. Yeah, and put your guesses in the chat section. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Star.
Good guess.
That's a good guess. That's a good guess.
Hangman. Oh, that's a good guess.
Sailboat.
Yeah.
A number.
Number
really
one.
Close, Karen. A dinosaur.
A dinosaur, a diamond.
Okay, I need to think of this.
Math equation. Oh, that's an interesting idea. So a number and something else.
Clearly, you guys are more creative than us.
Wow, 10. Okay.
I don't think we're drawing white. Number 10.
Number 10 is an interesting guess as well.
Interesting guess. Very interesting guess. I agree.
Okay.
But does it stop at 10?
A lot of 10s.
Does
a
it
lot of
stop
people are
at
guessing
10?
10.
Does it stop at 10?
Uh-oh.
No, it does not. It did not stop at 10.
100. So.
Oh. 101?
101, that's a great guess.
Okay, we'll see. Let's see what happens.
So 101 so far.
Let's see what happens. It could be 101. No, it's not 101. We give it away.
I think we can give it away. So a lot of people have guessed 100, and the correct answer is 100. But I think what this shows is the drama that you can create revealing your drawing, and the number of different things that are drawings that are subsets of individual drawings.
And we did, someone said 100 days of school. That is correct. We did make this for 100 days of school. So think about the different drawings you could make that are themed to what you're teaching as well. Pictionary is one of my favorite games. So imagine kids playing Pictionary with their robot. So then you're making it into a game.
I love the guess of 1001. Somebody really caught on to the pattern there. So
yeah. Now we have a little bit of time. Before I jump into Q&A, I saw how creative you guys were. So I would love to ask you this one question. If you had the robot and sketch kit and the Wonder Whiteboard map, what would you draw with your students? I'm curious. There are no bad ideas, because this actually helps me. No ideas at all? Really? They're thinking. I think they're thinking. Maybe. Oh, whoops.
Oh, we didn't scroll down.
We didn't scroll down.
Okay.
Whoops. Oh,
So let's
wow.
start
That's
up
just
here.
like no ideas?
Wow, a lot of ideas.
Wow.
Okay. First, a heart, mazes, angles, stories, maps.
I like up to them.
Computers. That's an interesting idea. Ooh, computer monitor. I'd use it for math. Okay.
Kristen, how would you
Connect
use
to-
it for math? I'm just curious.
Connect to literature and reading. I'd love to know how Colleen plans on connecting to literature and reading. That's really interesting too. Snowman. Everything. Ooh. Everything.
Kaleidoscope
A book,
drawing.
Kaleidoscope drawing.
That'd be cool. Like spiral
Structures. That's very mysterious. Book cover.
drawing. Spanish vocabulary.
Spanish vocabulary.
I like it.
Nice.
Like getting like language learning in there too.
Let the kids decide. Very diplomatic.
If we're learning about organs, wow.
Music, shapes, local roadmap. A dove like Pablo Picasso's. Nice. Getting
Yes.
into that art history as well.
Oh,
Labyrinth.
were you inspired by Winter Olympics too? Nice.
Book cover.
An
with
emoji. Did you
face.
see the emoji?
I did.
That was great.
Tree map. Mandelbrot set. Somebody's really thinking about math and drawing there.
Wow.
A map of a walking tour of our town. Very cool.
Oh,
Board
like
game
a map.
board.
Yeah. Retell a story.
Fractals.
Treasure map. Ooh, that would be really cool if they made a treasure map
Mm-hmm.
and the map is actually the classroom. So it's like like a scavenger
Okay,
hunt type
you could
thing.
program different clues.
Yeah,
Okay,
tessellations are cool too.
famous logos. I love that you're interacting with each other and kind of riffing off of each other's ideas. I love
Yeah,
it.
Kristen would create a scavenger.
Create a
hunt,
scavenger
too.
hunt. Okay,
That's
awesome.
awesome. Cool. Well, those are great ideas. We're actually I'm gonna take those ideas actually, if you guys are cool with it, to help create more sketch activities for you guys. When it's out next month, actually, we're gonna have 3 SketchKit lessons also available online to help you guys get ideas of how to use SketchKit in the classroom, both with Dash and Q. But I'm going to take all of these as well because I think there's so many possibilities of what you could do with SketchKit. Have them create a video of their Dash, like this one. Yes, if you made a video and make kids sketch as well. Cool. Cost. Oh, there are questions about costs. The SketchKit is $39.99.
And the sketch pack is $129.99. So that's when you combine the whiteboard mat, the sketch kit, the markers, the content, and the attachment with the whiteboard mat. It's rollable, and the eraser.
Yeah. So that's that. What is the mat on its own? Do you remember?
Mat on its own, I believe, is $99.
So you get a better deal if you buy the 2 together, but oftentimes you probably want to buy 2 sketch kits for each mat or something like that, because you can definitely fit 2 robots on 1 mat as well.
Joanna's asking, when is it coming out exactly?
When is it coming out exactly?
So within the next month, hopefully.
Yes.
And then repeat the prices again, please. So.
Oh, maybe we could write it.
Yeah, we can write it. So how can we connect with folks after? We can send out some links after as well, right?
Yeah. Also, here in the Q&A section, you can see our email addresses. That's also a great way if you note it down. Charlotte at makewonder.com, Dylan at makewonder.com. If you have any questions, we're on the pulse of exactly when it's going to come out. But we're still working out on dates. So this is the Q&A time. So unless we perfectly shared every single answer that you might have to questions that you have, this should be empty. No, it's not. All right, that's cool. So we're going to slowly walk through these questions. Remember, if you want to add questions, click on the question mark at the top center of your screen and add the questions there. That's where we're going to start looking at it.
Okay.
So would you publish
the webinar on the internet?
Or Facebook or other set? Yes, I believe we are. There will be, this has been recorded, and there will be a link to it that you can find on the edweb.net/code, I believe, that community. There will be a link that I'll share next. So
jump to this question. So one question from Helen from Arizona was, is there a chance they will want to do something more tricky to begin with? Absolutely. There's going to be some students who are going to want to jump right in and program something fairly complex, and we'll have content ready for that. One that you might want to wrap your head around now is, what if not only do you draw a hexagon, but draw a hexagon flower? What kinds of nested loops might you need to apply to be able to draw such a thing?
Yeah, and also the sketch cards, they're sequenced. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you have kids who are more advanced, they can definitely skip ahead. I mean, the more advanced designs, there's a house, there's a smiley face, and you'd be surprised how hard it can be to draw a simple design when you have to think about all the exterior and interior angles that the robots have to make.
So Anna Louie asked, what grades do you suggest? Great question. Yep. So SketchKit is designed to work with both our elementary school products, which is Dash, and our middle school product, which is Q. And all of the different content that's shipping with SketchKit, you can create using either robot. But because of the interfaces or the programming languages that are available for those robots, having different kind of levels developmentally and computationally, we're able to have you, create different drawings with Dash and with Q based on what the commands are.
Right, and we don't want to recommend it for the younger. So I would say a really good range is from readers and on. So because both of our apps required some reading to learn how to use them, you can say about first grade and on. For Q, it's 6th through 8th grade. That's our recommendation for that robot and for the SketchKit content there. And then for the younger ones, you can actually even draw with remote control. You're not going to get as precise because you don't have the programming. But for the younger ones, if you want to just expose them to playing with, expose them to robotics and drawing, it's a great way to do that as well. Would you ask the kids to tell you how to program Dash is doing in the video? then ask them to write the coding stuff. That is a great way. That's a great idea to show the video that we shared. That's actually available on YouTube as well. I think Derry might be able to share that link. So you show them that program, and they could actually write it down, plan ahead. Actually, in our K-5 curriculum last year and in our Q curriculum, I really, really, really value the planning phase of programming. You can trial and error, but you also want to think about, wait, what do I want the robot to do? How do I visualize it? There's also we kept included one sketch card front and back that's blank that lets kids draw out their design and plan ahead. Yeah. And what we do is I've recommended laminating that card so kids can draw it in with white erase markers and then wipe it when they're done.
Definitely. And one of the great things about using a video that you present to your students is reverse engineering is one of the standards in K through 12. So being able to, look at something that a robot is doing or drawing and then work backwards from there to think about what code might be applied to solve that kind of challenge.
Yeah. What is the cost of Sketchit? We said $39.99. What grade? Do you program on a laptop, Chromebook, or an iPad?
Yeah, so for Dash, currently we have our Blockly and Wonder apps, which are available for iOS, Android, and Kindle. For Q, we have our consumer app for iOS, Android, and Kindle. And then we're also going to be launching our Chromebook app. And finally, Q is also available on Windows 10 currently.
So there's a lot of options depending on the tech available at your school. When in doubt, you can always visit our website. We have an FAQ section that talks about compatibility with our programs.
Any time frame on Q curriculum resources, and will the launcher be available for Q as well?
Well, so the time frame on Q curriculum is the first unit is going to be out the door in June, so keep your eye out. If you want to stay informed, I really recommend going to makewonder.com and sign up for our email list, because we send it every 2 weeks, and we always have the latest and greatest news about what's out there, what's available, and what the resources are. If you're planning to be at ISTE, we will be there with a big booth, and you can come and visit me and Dylan. We'll both be there, and you'll be able to see the curriculum up close and personal.
Cool. Will your activities be on YouTube? I would love to do a guess game like we played with us. I'm glad that you like the guessing game. Yeah, so definitely one of the things we're thinking about is what kind of content we want to put in video format versus cards that are coming with the sketch kit. So that's a great suggestion, and we'll definitely keep that in mind. But yeah, for sure, a lot of the activities that you can do with Sketchkit warrant themselves well to video.
Totally. And you can, I actually really like one of the teachers' ideas where the kids make the video. Because then I think that also adds in that design thinking process where the kids actually have to think about the audience. How can I make a design that'll make people guess something different than it actually is? Have them record it, and then they can share the videos with each other. So I think that would be even cooler.
Do you do presentations for teachers interested in presenting for, Raft?
We love Raft!
Yeah, so we do presentations for teachers. If you get in touch with us, we can find a way, whether it's us or our outreach team, who are located in multiple areas around the U.S. and also can connect with folks who are international. Absolutely, we do presentations for teachers, whether it's virtual or in person. So if you get in touch with us.
And Jan, I see you from California. We're based in San Mateo. I believe we're neighbors. So we can make that happen for you.
Okay, we answered that one.
We did that one. How would I educate myself on how to code? Ooh. Well, we just launched a new professional development course online called Teach Wonder. So Teach Wonder is a great way to get you started on understanding the importance of computers and robotics in your classroom and how you can start integrating it. And then the second course for that, we actually walk you through our K-5 curriculum so you can get comfortable with the materials before you introduce it to your students. So that's great as well.
Yeah, so be sure to visit teachwonder.com if you're more interested in that.
Yeah. Okay, what do you recommend for schools just starting with coding? Yes, so I'm going to say straight out too, code.org is a great place to first visit, just to get your feet wet, to understand coding, and there's great videos, like I said, and so that's a great place to start. But if you go to education.makewonder.com and you're just interested in getting started, we have a professional development page where from there you can sort of understand, okay, how do I get this rolling in my school and district? We have a whole outreach team ready and available to come and talk to you guys about any strategies of how to implement it at your school district.
And I'm just going to clarify because I saw in the chat. So 129 is for the mat plus the sketch kit, not just the mat by itself. So it's actually a bundle between the mat and the sketch kit for 129.
Yeah. Let's see.
Brenda responded.
Oh, she did?
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Great pricing. I agree. Let's see. What else is it? Will you ask the kids to tell? Who did that? Oh, you want to read that one out?
Yeah, so I'm just checking in on some of the things that people have posted on the chat. Helen said, I ran a robotics activities week last week with 7 middle school girls. Very cool. And some of them really loved coding for Arduino, better than Scratch. Interesting. I'd love to hear, what was better about it. We're looking at other questions that we have. Printable dash and dot that I can use as a
Oh, well, actually, So we do. We actually have unplugged lessons here. Maybe I should share my screen. Shall I do that? I can actually go here.
We can probably post the link on the chat.
Yeah, I can also link it. So I'm going to link this to you guys. So this is where our curriculum is. And then this is a sample lesson of an unplugged lesson. So if you didn't have the robots and you just wanted to expose them to coding concepts, this is one that actually has printouts of dash and dot to walk through like a sequencing challenge, basically, that you can introduce sequencing loops through that as well. How about education on myself? We talked about that. When will the Chromebook app be coming out?
Soon. So the Q for Education app, which is going to be for our Q middle school robot, is currently available on Windows 10, and we're working hard on making sure that Chromebook app is going to be ready in the next couple months.
And then some of our students comprehend well but cannot write what they want. Do you think it can write however they comprehend?
Some of our students comprehend well but cannot write however they comprehend. I'm not sure I understand that question.
Yeah, Jaren, if you're still there, if you could clarify that. I think that sort of addresses this concept of differentiation of, how do you get how do you teach a concept like this to a classroom that has a variety of coding levels and coding capabilities? Like I said, grade level doesn't necessarily equate to coding level. So what I would recommend is that you can create differentiated groups so that the kids at the same coding level can work together and you can simplify the task. Just like I said, that we have a sequence of activity cards. You can start them off super easy with like sequence activity card 1 or 2, while a more advanced group is working on activity card 6 or 7, for example. Another way to do it is to group and pair someone who's struggling with someone who's more advanced, because the more advanced kid will benefit by needing to teach the concept because they learn the concept in a brand new way. So yeah, will the Chromebook app be available for Dash 2? Not right now, but we are working on it.
Yeah, so not right now, but we're working with Google to figure out the best way that we can create a Chromebook app for Dash, because we know that that's something that lots of folks are wanting.
The lesson take place in the 45-minute time period. Yes! Very easy. All of the lessons available next month will be 15 minutes, so you'll be able to work with that. They're special ed students. What I meant to say is the robot can write if those students dictate. Oh, no, they can't do that, but you can record with our robots. So kids can actually create custom recordings using our apps, and then the robot actually plays those recordings. So it's a really great, actually we've had really great participation with special ed students who love using that recording capability to express themselves, because like you said, they may have some limitations with writing and mobility and things like that, and motor skills. So it's a great way, and all you have to do is really assist them with some of the programming, but they still get to express themselves in the way that they can. I think that's about it. But it was wonderful to talk to you guys about something that we're both very passionate about. And once again, if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email. Oh, I had to do some cleanup duty. Don't forget to visit education.makewonder.com. And you can also find us on social if you have more questions.
And make sure you check out our professional development course at teachwonder.com as well.
And if you Want to get your certificate, don't forget, go to edweb.net/code. That's also where you're going to find the recording of this video if you want to check back. And yeah, you can also join the community there. Lots of free resources. The end. And we will see you next time.
Thanks everyone for attending. This was fun.
Yeah. Bye guys. Have a good evening.